So in our last session we have seen that an example of broadcast event, how to use event and how to use broadcast example in AngularJS, and in this session we will see how to use routing in AngularJS. What is AngularJS routing, or we could say that what does routing mean exactly? So routing means when you are visiting some page and you are navigating to some other page. So these things is called routing. Suppose I am in home page, I want to navigate to contact page, or I want to navigate to add more page. So for this I will click some button or I will visit some link and it will take me to another page. So this is what happening, some routing is going on. So in AngularJS when we perform routing, this provides us a feature that we do not need to reload our web browser again, means loading done only once in AngularJS. So this is the reason which helps us to achieve SPA concept, that is single page application. So this is achieved by routing. So in our routing concept, it provides us methods through which we can use this concept in our program. For that, what do we need? So you can see that for that we need to have a module. We need to include that module in our program, and what is that? That is ng-route. So we have to use that ng-route module in our program in order to use routing. So ng-route module, once you download, or you can use it online through CDN. So when you download that, you simply use that in your view. So when you use that in your view, it provides you a method that is called route provider. Okay, so this route providers enables us to use the functions of routing in AngularJS. So friends, this route providers is configured at config level of our AngularJS. So in our config method we use route provider and we configure it inside that config method. So you can see that how we can write in config method. It is written that how to write route provider and how to use .when method and .otherwise method, which you will see later. So this is the flow of using routing in our AngularJS program. For that, what do we need? We simply need, as I have told you, first we need to have that Angular module, the module for ng routing. We need to include that in our program. We need to use that route provider, and we need to use that route provider inside our config method. So these three things are basically done for achieving this routing concept. So what is inside that routing route provides? Okay, the first thing what we can do is it takes keyword that is called .when. Okay, so what is the function of when? So whenever I am writing .when and I am giving some that string part, suppose I have written contact or I have written careers. So whenever it will find that contact in URL, it will call the associated controller and associated view. Okay, so that view which it calls, that is loaded inside the ng view. So ng view is another thing which is also necessary while we are using routing in AngularJS. So ng view, we can use it as a tag, as a class, or as an element itself. Okay, so friends, whenever you visit some page and whenever you will click some actions or some button or some hyperlink, so you will navigate to some other page. So whenever, what is the function of a route provider? It checks that this string, if this string matches, then it will call associated controller and associated template or template URL. So now you must have confused between what is template and template URL. So template is, we can simply write our string of HTML inside that, means we will write our HTML code inside string. So this string will be passed to that ngView, and ngView will display that inside your page. Okay, suppose I have written a contact page and I have written all the HTML code for contact page inside my template, inside of routing. Okay, so whenever I am visiting that contact page, so what it does, it simply go to that template part, it takes the whole template code, that HTML code, and it returns that code inside that ngView which we have written in our HTML page. So inside that ngView, that becomes replaced, that is replaced by that code of contacts. So in this way it works. So what is template URL? Template URL is what? That instead of writing the whole HTML code inside your template, you can simply write your HTML code inside some file, and you can use that file name inside your template URL. Okay, so what in this case you will do, that inside template URL you will simply give the name of that file, that is contact.html. So at this time what it will do is, whenever that contact page would be visited, it will go to that page and it will bind that page structure inside that ngView which you have written inside your HTML. And if you have mentioned any controller for that contact, then it will also call that controller for contact. So this is how template and template URL and .when methods are useful for routing. The other aspect is that, which is .otherwise. This .otherwise, what is its function? That suppose I have visited some page, and that page is contact. I have visited other page, that is portfolio. I have also made some pages for that, means I have different page for contact, different page for portfolio. Okay, suppose unfortunately I have visited some link whose page is not available, means I have not handled that inside my code. So at that page there are many scenario when user will visit some page and that page will not be available. So in that case I will write a common page, and for that, calling that common page, we will use this otherwise method. Okay, suppose that some URL string is not matched. When user performs some action, he clicks on some button, in contact button contact page comes, in portfolio button portfolio page comes. Suppose you contact some XYZ button, okay, and that is not available. So at that time what we can do is we can show user another page, and that is a by default page. For that reason we use otherwise method. So whenever we will perform anything and that will match to some of our pages, it will call associated template or template URL, and if it doesn't find any page, that string will not be matched to that URL, then at that case it will call that otherwise method. So inside your otherwise method you can write your own code. You can write some common template that will be, user will be able to understand that, yeah, it's my by default page. Whenever I will click something, this happens. Okay, so or you can, what I can say, that routing is a very simple concept in AngularJS. You can assume it like your switch case. You must have used that logic in your programming, in your C programming also. So in switch case what we done, we write some case, yeah, like case 1 then do something, case 2 then do something, and then default. Okay, so similarly to that, here also we do that when do this, when do this, then otherwise, like default. Okay, so this is all about routing, and in our next session we will see an example of routing where you will be able to understand what routing is exactly and how to use that in our program.
So friends, we have seen that what is routing in AngularJS. In next session we will see how to perform basic routing. As an example we will see that and we will perform that.